Facebook's data collection isn't always obvious. This is the point. This is Cow Clicker. Now, a satirical game released 8 years ago. Even the creator would agree, perhaps, it was a silly app that became surprisingly popular. Literally, you clicked away on the cows and the game was milking its users' personal data from Facebook. Ian Bogost is the professor at Georgia's Institute of Technology who wrote the game and still has the player data on his server. So, look, assume I know virtually nothing about the data collection process. What were you getting back from Facebook, from the people who used your app or the friends of people who used it? What sort of data were you able to retrieve?
Right. So when you authorize an application like Cow Clicker on Facebook, you say, I'm going to use this app. You get a little dialogue and you say, yes, I'm ready to use the application. Facebook starts sending me data. And that data includes your name, your profile picture, your gender, your friends list, and anything else that you might have made public. This was true at least at the time when I made this game in about 2010. So if you had exposed your birthday publicly, then I would have received that too. And it's kind of important to understand just how brazen Facebook was in presenting that data to developers like myself. The moment that you access the app, every single request from Facebook to a third-party application, which is hosted remotely, gets this bundle of data like that, which then I had access to and could store in part to run the program.
Right. Now, so what about those other sites where you log in using your Facebook name, your Facebook login details? Were you getting data from that?
Yeah, so if you use, it was called Facebook Connect, or you have these other choices for logging into separate websites.
Yep.
And there were so many different types and methods of connecting to Facebook with applications at different periods in time. All of them had access to different kinds of information in your profile.
Now, so far, the data that you're talking about is I don't want to minimize it, but it's fairly rudimentary. My name's Richard Quest. I'm 56 years old, and I live in New York. I'm male, and you know, where does it start to get tricky? Where does it start to get personal? Where does it start to get uncomfortable?
So one of the pieces of data that I had access to was work or educational affiliations, as well as an identifier, a numerical identifier for your Facebook user account. You take that, you take your name, your full name, and because the Facebook user ID had the capacity of being used anywhere else on Facebook, I could take that information, at least in theory, combine it with other information, and then retarget you on Facebook.
Right, now, this is the core point, though. What use is that information when sold or given to another developer? This is one of the things I'm having difficulty understanding. You know, you get 150,000, 200,000 names. What do you do with it?
Well, one of the reasons people are so concerned about this Cambridge Analytica situation is because that retargeting sold political messages that then were addressing people and maybe attempting to manipulate their opinions. Because all Facebook's business is built on advertising just like that, the capacity to then address new information and to take the materials you'd already shared with an application developer like me, I could then combine that with offline data too from other data brokers and either use that to address you on Facebook or to advertise to you in different ways offline.
To the point I was just asking our previous guest, to the point, we've known that Facebook has been doing, they're not the only ones that do it. Twitter does it, Instagram, they all do it in some shape, form or description. They're all doing it. Is there an element of naivete about us in not thinking, hang on, of course they're doing it?
I think people were misled to some extent, but also they didn't fully understand what Facebook was doing. When you went to an application like Cow Clicker on Facebook, it appeared to the average user that they were never leaving Facebook. I don't think a reasonable person might have known that they were even sharing that data with me. It all just looked like Facebook to them.
And finally, Cow Clicker, does it still exist?
It still exists. You can still play it and click. It's kind of complicated, but the cows are gone, but you can still click.
Hang on. The cows have gone, but you can still click?
Yeah, I shut the thing down in 2011 in this cow rapture, and people sometimes still click where the cows used to be.
Right. I think that's worth a moo, if ever there was one. So I can play a game with the cows. Thank you. I can play a game with cows without any cows. Good to see you, sir. We're going to come back to you again in the future to help us understand what exactly they've been up to. Thank you, sir.